What do the villages of Wandila, Namaja, and Mbute have in common? All three were 100% Muslim. All three had never heard the gospel and were closed to Christianity. And all three were in desperate need for water, an ideal combination for the kingdom of God to be extended here on earth. And Pastor Kefa, a local pastor from the village of Mbute, knew just that. You give people water, you can then preach the gospel. Fortunately, Gain had already committed to providing deep-capped water wells in this area. At the same time, Gain's partner, the Jesus Film Church Planting Strategy, approached Pastor Kefa to partner with them to plant a new church in a village that just received a well. He saw this as an opportunity to realize his vision, a vision to go to where the living water had never been shared. As a result, Pastor Kefa and his church became the mother church in the area. 30 members of his church were trained and formed an action group. Today, they've planted 3 new churches in 3 different villages. Mbute was one of those villages. An impoverished and very remote village 55 kilometers from the mother church and not a single believer for miles. Promise of clean and safe water in this village was so huge that the Jesus Film was allowed to be shown. That night, a miracle happened. 12 people made a decision to follow Jesus. As Pastor Kefa and the action group followed up the new believers, the need for a place to worship became apparent. This is when another miracle took place. Mbute's village leadership donated 3 acres of land for a church to be built. The congregation then built a temporary church building made of mud walls and a grass roof. Leaving their own village at 5 a.m. on Sundays, Pastor Kefa and members of the action group biked 55 kilometers to Mbute, arriving just in time to host a 9:30 a.m. church service and then do follow-up. But now that there was a designated spot for the church, Pastor Kefa assigned one of their action group members as the permanent pastor for the new church in Mbute. Jose and her family were some of the newest church members. Before being a Christian, I was a Muslim. I was going to witch doctors in the village and practicing witchcraft. After watching the Jesus Film, I decided to follow Jesus and my life changed immediately. Through watching the film, I realized that Jesus was doing many miracles and I thought he could do that even for me. After making a decision to follow Christ, I got pregnant. I was having problems before that, so it is a testimony to Jesus that he can do more than me depending on traditional medicine. And before my husband became a Christian, he had all the bad behavior a human being could have. There was much drinking, smoking cigarettes, spending money, and fighting with me. After receiving Christ, I realized God was in our marriage. Now there is peace in the house. We can sit together and talk. It was impossible before that. The general perception of the villagers is that they now see us positively. They see we are developing. The community has asked if they could come see us and get advice. I am now respected by our community. Today, Mbute looks very different. It has changed. The whole village knows that it was Christians who brought the life-giving water to the village, and they've seen the positive things that have happened in the life of the new Christians. As Pastor Kefa put it, after the Jesus Film is shown and a church is planted in a village, all the people know about Christianity. They are thinking about it and discussing it. It is no longer new to them, and slowly they are coming to know about Jesus. When the new Christians' lives are changed, it is a testimony of the power of the gospel to the whole village.